Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. Night Horror here, and I've got some special guests today. Someone ate my baby. I think it might have been a kobold, and I think these two might know who it was. So I have here in the upper left-hand corner is Bug, and just to their right we have John. And John, do you have a in the book? I can't remember what it was. It's like Kobold guy or Kobold dude or something. You had like it was like John Kobold dude Maness or something. Can you tell us about it?
It's yeah, it's the Kobold dude. That's my nickname from decades and decades ago. So
Okay, stuck with you
that's
for a
me.
while. Awesome. Well, normally, so I want to do a bit of introduction for you two. And guys, things don't always work out with live streaming exactly how you'd like. So I'm a little bit behind the eight ball here. I don't want to ask these two to introduce themselves because it's always such an awkward thing to do. And you're like, I'm just me, like, what do you want? But I do have a question for you so that will help us get to know you guys. And maybe Bug, you can kick us off here. What got you into gaming? Why are you a nerd? What brought you in? No one's born a nerd.
Maybe I was. We are the product of our environments to an extent.
Sure.
Um, Definitely my parents were big nerds. My mother still is. They are the kind of people that I'd wake up at 1 a.m. and they'd still be sitting there watching Star Trek reruns. So, you know, definitely Next Generation.
Okay.
The time that I was a child, they did like original. They are that old, but
I appreciate that you
that was what was
anticipated
on television.
my next question, which was
Yeah,
which. uh,
just based on my age, what was on television at the time would have been
sh-
Next Generation.
sure.
Um, I can almost always tell which episode of the Next Generation it is within the first like minute of this show starting. I've seen it so many times. But I have an older sibling. I have a lot of older siblings, but the oldest is also a big nerd and played a lot of D&D and stuff in college and high school, and always wanting to follow him around relentlessly. I just wanted to do that. So
That's awesome. What
yeah.
about you, John? What got you into gaming? And I can see, behind there, you've got. I think we were talking earlier, Transformers. Quite the collection.
Oh yeah, I got some. What? There we
A
go. Got
little bit.
some
A little bit of.
big
Oh
one,
yeah.
big ones,
Okay.
big ones back here too. So what got me into gaming? That's a really weird question.
You know,
I think I want to say it was like the old Marvel, phase rip or whatever they call it. That old Marvel system. And this was before I was into comics, so that's kind of weird too.
okay.
And yeah, I think we were on a school bus going to on some field trip, and one of my nerd friends pulled that out of his backpack and said, "Hey, let's play a role
That's awesome. uh,
playing."
I know for me, I was given. So I don't know exactly when it started. So part of this is just to hear good stories. But I know one of the stories I always like to tell people is I was given a box of AD&D books by someone who couldn't. They were going off to college, and they were like, "I can't take these with me. I'm bequeathing them to you, like to take good care of them." Well, cool. Well, you guys are both writers on Kobolds Ate My Baby, abbreviated often KAMB. Can you tell us a little bit about what exactly you did in a couple of words? I'm sure you did. It's a lot of work you put into it. I'm sure. So.
I mean, a lot of drinking, um, a lot of shouting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Uh, oh, like productive
oh
things.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
productive things.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So what does it mean to I think there's a lot of people that are, and I include myself in this, where you're like, well, how do these products even get made? You're both listed as writers on it. The no, go ahead. You had something to say there,
Uh,
Bug.
um, yeah. So the game was made back in the 90s. I was a child. Keep going back to my childhood here.
Sure.
Uh, but the system was in what was called beer and pretzels for 20 years, and the company as a whole moved to a system called polymorph, and we were waiting for the right time to move Cobalt to My Baby into the new system, and as John said, his nickname of the Kobold dude, because he was probably the single biggest fan of Kobolds ever to date. Um, uh, you know, was asked to help, and then I had been working for them for more than 15 years to move it up to the new system with Chris.
Okay.
So we did a big bulky overhaul to bring it up to speed with the direction the company was heading, which was like just a much sleeker design with the rules. And still managed to keep it as dumb as humanly possible.
Sure. Yeah. So
Yeah.
how much of the rules did being involved with actually that using the obviously trying to use the polymorph system, but there's a lot of things that are changed. So when you guys are writing and stuff like that, this is part of the process. Is the rules design as well? Are we mostly talking
Uh,
some of the flavor things with classes and?
well, it almost goes hand in hand. There's stuff in that works for kobolds that really isn't really part of just a lot of other polymorph
Right.
things. So like if polymorph was the backbone of what we use, and then there's a lot of stuff that you'll see in kobolds that you won't see in like mazes or a few other games.
Sure.
Like we don't like kobolds doesn't use health or hit point per se.
Right.
It's one of the few polymorphs that I can think of, if maybe not the only, that uses an actual player versus player mechanic out
Aggressively.
out of necessity.
That's awesome. Yeah. So just to give background for those who maybe don't know anything about level 9 Kobolds Ate My Baby, or Kobolds, yeah, and polymorph. So this is the 5th edition, I believe. Am I right?
Sure.
It's a lot of editions.
Probably.
It's quite a few
I
in here.
I have a lot
Everything's
of them.
Okay.
everything's a 5th edition these days.
Everything's a 5th
right?
edition these
hang on,
days.
hold on.
I actually think that might be true. I think GURPS, if they make a new one, is going to be on 5th edition.
Right,
So
right.
that's
There was
This is
like
the 5thest of all 5th editions.
okay.
so there was like they put out some there we go. They put out like some various zines, and this is like the
Okay.
3rd edition sort of like but the reprint of it. Because there were several zines before this one.
Yeah.
And this was for the 20th anniversary. And then they did a hardback. I didn't do any of this.
Okay.
And then
There's a
and
lot of
then-
people who will tell you that I wrote that one, but I did not.
Okay.
then they did this one about a little over 10 years ago. And then we've done this one. Well, this one's in Ukrainian, but I don't have a regular one up here. You've got a picture of it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey, there we go.
So you say 5th, but like this is kind of like the
I mean,
3rd.
it's kind of the way how
like-
all these things start, where you're like, yeah, it started off as a sign, and then or zine or whatever, and then where things go from there.
So
'cause-
I've
oh, I think Discord.
I don't know.
I think our audio's struggling, or maybe your connection is.
Uh-oh.
We're losing Bug.
I think what Bug's trying to say is, yes, it's the 5th edition. Why not?
Okay, sure.
If
Why
that's
not?
what's gonna
Why
if
not?
that's what's gonna get you, the viewer, interested in this book, there's other stuff, but sure, we'll go with that.
Yeah, and maybe guys that are watching, do me a favor. Someone drop a comment, say hello. I just want to make sure the chat box working okay. And if you guys have any questions for these guys or any comments or whatever, throw them in. Cool. Looks like we've got Bug back. Maybe. Well, we'll keep going until the technical difficulties resolve themselves, or the program finishes in an hour. We'll see. Well, cool.
Right.
Well, John, can you tell us specifically about something that? Oh, hey Mel, hey Nani, thank you both. Can you tell us specifically about something that like you worked on that or just one of your favorite things that are in the book? Let's start off with something you worked on. What is something you worked on that's like
Okay.
in the book that you're like, hey, I'm really proud of this. I really enjoy it.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh
no.
no, I think we did.
Ah. All right, Bug's coming back.
Hey, there's Bug.
Hey, there we
Okay.
go.
Well,
Great.
one thing I worked very closely on, is the Kobold Horrible Death records
Okay.
or death charts rather. Because kobolds will die, and there's tons of different ways they'll die. So we gave you a bunch of different charts that you can roll on to figure out which way the kobold's going to die. So I worked a lot on all of those. There's even one that's I think it's called the Kobold Dude's like totally horrible way to die or something, man chart.
Okay.
A lot of references in there.
You know,
I'm very proud of that.
nice. What about Bug? I'm not sure if you caught the question, but what is something you worked on that specifically that's like in the game that you're really proud of or you really enjoy?
There's a great deal of references to my favorite bands in this book
Okay.
that absolutely Chris doesn't get, which I think is hilarious because he doesn't listen to lyrics. But if anybody can spot them, I appreciate that you do.
What are some of the bands? I'm trying to think. It's been a
Uh,
while since I looked through everything.
there's I think a decent there's a Front Bottoms reference.
Okay.
There's at least one Mountain Goats reference for sure. There's a Prizefighter Inferno reference, which is Coheed's side project. There's a couple
mean-
different like folk bands.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I mean, the whole thing's
just
packed with
the whole thing.
references and
Yeah.
nods to popular culture, some less popular culture, but still appreciated, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I think you're gonna.
Yeah, I just I did a pretty like I don't know, we worked on everything together, right? But like I did a pretty big chunk of the rules conversion, so a lot of that's just my dumb stuff. It's all dumb, but that's the point.
Yeah. For the latest version, like what do you feel like you guys improved the most going from some of the older versions? I mean, I'm sure each iteration is different, and it also, Kobolds Ate My Baby is kind of to me, it often feels like very topical for the time and what's going on. Is that feeling correct? Am I picking up on this? Like, it seems like there's often references that seems to be a little bit related to what's going on at the time in the industry a bit. Am I reading too
Yeah,
much into it?
definitely write what you know what's happening.
Sure.
We added stuff like, influencers as one of the jobs.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Appreciate it.
Definitely took
Appreciate
out
it.
anything that seemed like super old. We took out because I'm like nobody like I'd have to look, but there was stuff we went through that I was like, there's nobody under the age of like 30 that's gonna get this joke. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
I do
there's-
remember lengthy conversations with Chris trying to explain, no, this joke does not work anymore.
yeah, like,
This joke is better. Okay, we'll explain the joke to you.
yeah,
We won't have to
he's in his
explain it to anybody
50s,
else. Right.
Um,
Chris being the original writer, for those who don't know,
Y-
of Kobolds Ate My Baby, who's
yeah,
still
Chris
credited
O'Neill
on this
and
one.
Dan Landis wrote the
Okay.
original and all the other versions up until this one. And Chris did write on this one. He's just not available today to be on this podcast with us. So
Sure.
Mhm.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Yeah, joining
yeah.
regardless. Well, cool. That's awesome. I think a lot of people really are interested in, how you come up with like the mechanics. I think some of my audience, we kind of go a little deep and stuff like that. And so it's cool to hear, rules conversions, which I think to a lot of people probably sound like watching paint dry. I personally find very like, how did you convert this? How did you change this? What got you into it? With Kobolds Ate My Baby, again, just, guys, I've done a full review on this channel. So if you're just tuning in and you have no idea, go watch that. If you're watching this after fact, then you can come back and see a little bit about it. But this is a very beer and pretzels, very just fun, lighthearted style of play. One of the memorable experiences I want to tell you guys about is that with one of the parties when I was doing the play test, because I always play everything when I'm doing the reviews, is someone was they were mounted. So they were a
Cowpoke.
cowpoke. Okay,
Cowpoke.
that's what I wanted to say. Okay, they were a cowpoke, but they had a goat. They were mounted on a goat, and they were charging at an innkeeper where they were trying to steal food from the back. They found a bin in the back of the inn that just had a bunch of like food in it, just that was just like left there. And so they were going through, but the innkeeper came out while they were going through. So he charged the innkeeper, and one of the game maestro, I believe, which is another class, changed his damage dice to a d20, and he rolled a 20. So he ended up, and so the dice exploded multiple times, and he ends up running through the poor innkeeper and through the inn itself, and that's the kind of fun craziness you can expect from Kobolds Ate My Baby. It was an amazing time and something I'll probably never forget that moment. Have you guys, obviously you've been playtesting and everything else. Do you playtest internally with each other, or what do you do? Do you take home groups?
Um, I don't think we play tested this game at all.
Oh, really?
I mean, I guess sort of did.
Wow.
I
Way
ran
to
it.
no, we
No,
playtested
no,
this
no.
thing so many
No,
times.
no, no. Tell me about it. This is all the good stuff.
I guess technically, once we started converting the rules and we got them to a point that we were like, this is mostly ready for publication,
Uh-huh.
I started running it at conventions. So I guess that's playtesting it. Yes. But the amount of times that it went from this is basically done to published, and the amount of times I ran it was very small. So
Wow. Okay.
other games that we have, we absolutely playtest. But Kobolds, again, it's been around for 25 years. And the 25th anniversary was last year into this year, right? Um, it is so like the feel of it, the jokes, the humor, we call it a cult classic. It kind of has a cult following, right?
Yeah.
Like people know who we are. Sometimes in real life in a like at the grocery store way. Um, so like we don't have to like
Wow.
worry too much about it. And
That's
with
cool.
polymorph, where like the basics of polymorph is set up already, like that what we call the resolver, that's never going to change. We just reduced it down to only 6-sided dice, which for the audience in polymorph, when you make a character, you pick either a d4, 6, 8, or 10, and then it's the only die you will ever roll. When you make an action, you roll either books, boots, blades, or bones. For most of the games, we change all the names for themes and stuff. In Kobolds, it's eat, feet, meet, and beat. Um, you just roll on one of those things, match it, right? Super easy. It's already part of polymorph. That's it. Kobolds are d6 only.
All right.
That was the main of it. Like once you know that that's going to apply, and then Kobolds, it's like, all right, how fast can you make them die?
Yeah. Well, and it's really fun that, I mean, you guys have so many classes that each have their own special ability, and it's actually really cool and refreshing to hear, like, no, we just came with some really good ideas, and then we threw it in there, and called it good. That is almost insultingly simplified. I know that you guys do a lot more than that, but but it's pretty cool to
that is
hear.
the book is over 100 pages, and so many of them are classes. It's only like 30 pages of rules, and like so
Right.
much of it is like the jobs and like rollable charts and things.
There's a ton
Yeah.
of humor in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the rules
We think we're
and
funny.
I think you're
the
funny.
oh well, first off, I want to say all hail King Torg to
All hail
Yes,
King
indeed.
Torg.
All
like,
hail King
I see
Torg.
I see someone threw that in the chat.
Uh,
Uh the rules are the how to do stuff is really small because it's actually really easy. But the core of it is how do I die and get back in the game?
yeah.
Which is why there's so many jobs. So they're not called classes, they're called
Oh, I'm
jobs.
sorry. I'm sorry.
And it's got and you know how some words will have like a silent letter in it? This actually has an invisible R in it. So it's
Yeah.
actually pronounced Jorbs. Not
That's right.
Okay.
it's written like jobs,
Ah,
but it's pronounced Jorbs.
okay.
Yep.
Okay. Are these
It's an
given?
invisible letter.
Okay.
Invisible letter.
Is this given down by King Torg?
All hail King
All
Torg.
hail King Torg.
Yeah.
Does he give the jorgs?
Oh.
The jorbs?
It does.
I actually think HR does that, or excuse me,
Yeah.
KR does that.
Ah, okay. Okay.
Take through a pile, get an assignment.
Oh, yeah, I thought you were gonna say. Go ahead, Bug. If you got something.
Oh, I was trying to think of like my favorite part of the book. I think one of the things I'm most proud of that's different in this than other versions is the menu system that we put in there. Instead of doing a just one adventure example in the book, I put in a bunch of rollable charts, which I had basically done with my other book, Sentai and Sensibility, which I wrote first, but then we put Kobolds out first because production timelines.
Sure.
Um, and it is, what are we doing today? What are we like? What are we getting for the king to eat? Where are we going, and what NPCs are going to be there? And so it's just some very simple charts that the players get to roll on, and then make their own stupid maps, preferably with crayons, um, Kobold level quality.
Yeah.
And so
Plus they're
it's zero
tasty,
prep.
so it's you can write,
Oh
you
yeah,
can also eat them.
orange is the best flavor. Um, and but it's a zero prep thing for any storyteller, especially if you're new or if you just don't have time and you can just roll and go and you're just ready.
Yeah.
Um, I
I,
love it. I think it's amazing, and everybody has had a great experience with it. So I think that's the thing I play tested the most. I guess
it's the
was
experience.
those
Yeah,
charts.
did when
Yeah.
when you ran this at
Mhm.
cons and what have you, did you get feedback that you integrated or anything, or was it mostly like,
Oh, oh, definitely.
okay.
Because okay. I see Bug shaking her head. Um, we actually ran this as playtest at an Origins using Bug's menu one point, and a lot of the stuff we were trying to get feedback was like, well, how did was it easy enough to get back into the game? Most of the feedback came from us who were running it. We were going like, yeah, we need to tighten up this chart a little. We need to change
Yeah.
this
Okay.
this jorb a little bit,
Sure.
or be like, oh, this we think the bark like a cobalt should work like this and not like
Okay.
so.
Yeah. Well, I found it a ton of fun, and I actually, the rules are so fun, and it's so light that, I mean, changing the theming and what have you, a lot of the core things that you guys had in there with, so for example, kobold deaths, none of my kobolds died. I know that might seem horrible. I was working on killing one, but nobody, clearly I wasn't having them roll enough kobold death checks. I mean, clearly, but it actually worked out quite well for our particular group where everybody, still had a great time. Are there other games? You said, Bug, I know you said you've worked for ninth level for, if I understood that correctly, for about 15 years now, for quite a while.
Since 2007
Okay.
is when I ran the first game for them.
What about you,
Yeah.
John? Is this
Uh, oh gosh. Um, well, I, I guess I've been technically working for them since I was asked to write on this book, but I've
okay?
been running games for them.
Oh, okay,
Oh
cool.
gosh, I don't know, forever.
Okay, so you went from running games to the fame and fortune of being a writer on a TTRPG product. I,
Yes,
I
all that lucrative RPG money.
Yeah, yeah. There's I think that what you guys do is incredibly cool. I just want to say that, and I know, like, everybody, we're all nerds, and we all want, the idea of making something like this is amazing. The idea of being involved with it, and so it just seems, I know it might not lead to fame and fortune as much as we'd all like. I wish that all creators of TTRPGs led to more fame and fortune, but I do think it's really cool. To me, you guys are. Yeah, I'm like, oh, I know Bug now. I got a chance to talk to them. Oh, that's John. Okay, if I see you at a con or something, I think it's pretty cool. Can you tell us, maybe Bug, you can start out, like, what other products have you worked on for ninth level that it like led you here, and maybe you can, if there's anything that's you guys are working on that you can share a little bit about. You don't need to break any news, but
The other game I put out last year was Sentai and Sensibility, which is a Regency game about romance and giant robots.
okay.
It is a
Reference Sense and
mashup of
Sensibility, I take it. Okay.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
mashup of like Jane Austen style romance and Sunday morning transforming tokusatsu heroes, so like Japanese Super Sentai kind of thing, which in America got mashed up into Power Rangers. So
Okay.
my boss always says Power Rangers and Bridgerton, and I'm like, I've never watched Bridgerton, but if that's your reference, then great.
Sounds good.
Absolutely, please. It's gonna feel just as fun and campy. Um,
Oh wow. Yeah.
you go to the ball, have tea, play croquet, well, Pama at that time mostly, play Pama, and then monsters attack, and you summon your giant mechs and try to not crush the town, because if you do, who's going to want to marry you then?
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Uh,
Which is out. You can buy it in print and on like drive-through and all the other major sites. And normally I'd hold up a copy of it, but in my pile of games that's over here, I actually don't have it. It's downstairs. It's in
no
my book
worries.
bag.
That's awesome.
I have this massive pile of all of our like 15 books over here, and it's the one that I don't have.
With I don't know, just to take these two as an example with Kobolds Hey My Baby um and then I'm sorry, you said it's a Japanese word. I took it senpai. I want to say senpai. Is that what you said?
Sentai.
Sentai. I'm sorry, sentai.
Yeah.
I was like senpai is not right though. Okay, sentai. Okay. How long does something like this take to develop? Like how long were you working on each one of these projects? You can just give me a ballpark.
Um, Sentai, once I actually got to working on it, took me about 2 or 3 months. I thought about it for the better part of a year, but once the project actually officially like got started, took me like 2 months. Kobolds took us about 9 months, I'd say.
Okay. Wow.
We had some delays throughout the year, but
Mhm.
like from when we sat down and started writing, and then personal life stuff, and then we'd get back to it.
Sure.
So
Yeah. Do you guys have day jobs as well that are not in the industry? Or are you able to be full time?
no, this is what I do.
This is what you do. Cool. Cool. John, you said you were running games
Don't ask.
and I'm sorry if that's a little personal. I should have asked beforehand. It gets a little personal, but I know that there are just so many people, and I have friends that write and what have you, and a lot of them, most of the people that I know are kind of freelance and aren't able to. So it's awesome to have like full time. The level of knowledge you gain when you're able to do something full time and then continue and iterate on it from year and year, it clearly comes through. I, as someone who reads and critiques, or I guess reviews TTRPGs, it is very clear that they're not all created equal, and the skill in actually knowing how to write a TTRPG and knowing the important things that if you are a GM or if you're a player and you're looking for references and stuff, simple stuff, honestly, sometimes just like put everything in one location. Do not reference a class or a job or whatever you want to call it. Do not reference it in two locations. No matter what it is, only reference one locate. You're laughing. Is this something that comes up?
I just no, I feel like we did that all the time in Kobolds, but that's because it's funny.
Yeah, when we did stuff like that in Kobolds, it was meant to be a
Yeah.
joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that comes through. I mean, the whole thing is pretty hilarious. I will say it was a bit. Sometimes there's so many references. Like I don't know if you told me 9 months. There are so many references and stuff like that. I mean, at points, I will admit it's a chore to read because I'm just like I don't. There's a joke on top of a joke. I'm just trying to understand how the thing works, but in snippets or whatever, it's incredibly enjoyable to read. It's just the gymnastics that you guys put in there is quite fun. At least I found it very entertaining. John, so you're running games, and then that kind of morphed into writing. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure, sure. So when I started running Kobolds, I didn't just run Kobolds. I like threw myself full into it. So for the outfits, I'd be like, "Oh, well, you're wearing this outfit, so you have this hat," and I would give a player an actual hat, and they would have to wear that.
Okay.
So people would walk into a gaming convention, and they'd see someone, they'd be like, "Why is that person wearing a colander on their head?" That was me. And then I would do other stuff where it's like anybody could just roll on this chart to figure this out. Instead, we're gonna pick a card to to see what class, what job or outfit you get.
Okay.
And because I kept getting more and more outlandish and outrageous with it, of course I caught the attention of uh, the ninth level game folks.
Okay.
They're like, "Oh, we just put people down at a table and give them a piece of paper and a pencil, but uh, John's giving them color forms and stuff to play with. What the heck is that about? Are there shrinky dinks on the table? Maybe they are." Um, And so because of that, and because I actually wrote a few things, not professional published, but a few things, and including a Midnight Massacre that got run, which I think now is published, um, to a degree, maybe.
Yeah.
Right, sure. Yeah, so that's one. That's all of that led to me, to them asking me, "Hey, we'd like you to
Right
work
for
on
this.
this." And of course, I was like, "Yeah, yes, I want to do that."
Is the wadding up of a piece of paper and throwing it to cast the spell, was that in the original? Has that been around?
Yes,
Okay.
that's been around at least since the deluxe edition. I
Okay.
don't
Yeah.
know if it was in
I
the
don't know
original.
if it's in the original
So
or not.
for anybody who didn't catch on the finer points of the rules, to cast the spell, you actually wad up a piece of paper and you hurl it to cast the spell. And there's, obviously, don't be that guy, you know, cranking a ball at your friend's head, right? Don't be that guy. But unless the group's fine with it, in which case be that guy. But
Yeah,
whatever.
I was gonna say I have been pelted in the face so many times by
Uh,
strangers,
oh, that's
but I
awesome.
will also catch that and throw it back at people. Like,
Yeah.
try not to hit too many children, but
That's really cool. That's interesting, John. That you said like part of the creativity of how you're running games caught attention, and then it was like, oh, this person might have some ideas. I assume there were some conversations had in between that, but that
Oh yeah.
I mean
Yeah.
that's pretty cool though to get in. So you've been a nerd for a while, but you were just writing a bit on your own and what have you, and doing other things.
Yeah, and I'm one of those though. I'm one of those folks that is almost always a GM and hardly ever a player.
Okay.
Um, and I run so many other different games, so I've gotten used to to I think that really helped me out working on this book in particular because, like you said, when you want to make sure that all the rules are kind of right where you need them to be. Um, so being a longtime GM for various systems, I was like, oh, this needs to be here. We can't just hide it back there. But at the same time, it's Kobold, so it's okay to kind of hide it to reference a page that doesn't actually exist in the book. That's fine. That's fine.
something.
I mean,
I did try very hard to make sure that everything was in actually a comprehensible order, despite all the dumb jokes and things that go nowhere. Um, like, I also get very frustrated reading books that make no sense, like that seem like free form rule format.
Yeah.
Like, why is the character creation start here, stop, and start again? Like, I tried very hard to get it in a reasonable order, so that it's clear, like why we're here, how to make a character,
mhm,
and then what the storyteller should do, and then anything else that.
yeah. And I always feel like especially if you're going to be running a game, I always feel like the best way to learn the game is to sit down and make a character. Because if you can figure out how to make a character, you'll know like, oh, this is how I do stuff as this character. So that's why these rules exist. And then you're on a much better path than instead of jumping straight to the GM section or the mayor section or
Well,
whatever.
and I mean, I think in KAMB, like that's really all you need, to be totally honest with you. Like most of the other stuff is construct that you guys, and like I told you, with one of my groups, we throw most of it out. We didn't PvP at all. No kobolds died in that one, which probably feels like sacrilege, but for us, that's how we had fun. So
Um, I always call the game cooperative optional. Um, I have games where, I've read this game hundreds and hundreds of times in all the different versions. And there are some games you sit down and no matter what plot you lay out, you just spend 2 hours with players eating each other. So,
it's interesting that you guys both have run a lot of games, and then that's the background. I wonder how many people, as I'm thinking of other friends that I know that write in the industry and stuff like that, most of them are GMs. I mean, clearly that makes sense, but John, maybe not so much.
No, no,
Oh,
I get it. I feel you're definitely on the right track because if you're GM all the time,
yeah,
then you've definitely got a better idea of how an adventure probably should be structured
should be put
or how
together.
some
Yeah,
rules should be laid out. Yeah.
yeah. When Go ahead, Buck.
Because I've definitely know people who will write games and then will never run them, and I think that's very, I don't know, they're missing it in live application, right? Like,
Sure. What's actually going to happen with this, and
yeah.
yeah, how people will interpret it. Yeah, that's fair. Well, cool. What are you guys? Is there anything you're working on? You're working on right now that you can tell us about or anything? I know that's kind of obviously you can't. You know, I'm not asking for a press release or whatever, so maybe not. Okay, lot of stern, lot of
It's like,
thinking looks. Well, I really like
yeah,
what you guys got going on over there at ninth level. You know, a lot of ninth level products, guys. So there's mazes and oh wait, mazes, just mazes. I keep wanting. I have to stop myself from saying mazes and monsters, which is an amazing movie uh, featuring Tom Hanks, documentary, I'm sure. But mazes, and there's a lot of other kind of shorter form, you know, systems and adventures. A lot of them based on polymorph that are over by ninth level games, and I haven't had a chance to check all of them. I'm definitely going to work my way through, but it's a lot of really great stuff that you guys got going on there, and I really appreciate you guys putting out such good content. Go ahead, Buck. You're going to say something.
I was gonna say stuff. I can tell you what the company has coming out,
Sure.
like in general this year.
Yeah, yeah.
So like Mazes has City of Skull expansion coming out, which is added content, super cool. There it's got like Westward expansion and like some tons of campaign stuff. It should be out in a few months. Very successful Kickstarter for it. It's you are at the last city, the City of Skull, at the edge of the sand wastes, and you have to bring back artifacts to feed the sleeping god to keep it asleep. So it's pretty cool. That one's a big deal. And then we've got
And
Wrestlevania is going to kickstart later in a couple months. You are wrestlers fighting Ultra Dracula. Um, and so that'll come out next year, but it's going to kickstart here in a couple months. Then there is
mazes being a
uh,
little bit more what we think of as traditional fantasy, a little bit more
yes,
serious, not as over the top, and
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Just so
very
everybody knows.
80s classic dungeon crawl.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's very much in that OGL
Yeah.
vein.
Mhm. Okay.
And then we have Thunder Road Vendetta, the RPG, will be out in a few months. I just put in a ton of those for Origins and Gen Con for demos of those. Um, and that is based on Restoration's board game, which we have the original writers for the board game did the um, RPG conversion. So you're, fighting through the post-apocalyptic world in your super cool cars, and then you get to fight people and gather resources and do all that neat stuff. We're really excited about that. We're going to do a big event at Gen Con, like a big, like huge event of that.
Okay.
So yeah,
And will that
With
be
real cars and
uh,
that'll be with
you know,
for the release? Is that at Gen Con
um,
or close to it?
kind of. I think it should. I think it's going to be out by Origins. If not, I think it should be out by Gen Con.
Okay.
Um, shipping containers and all of that. Sometimes we don't get things when we want to have them, but should be out here very shortly. It's, uh, you know, like last stages of editing, and then will be sent off for print. So
Okay. Awesome.
yeah,
Leary Hill saying, "Oh, exciting! We'll see you at Gen Con." So that's cool.
yeah, I'll be there.
I think Leary Hill's also saying she really liked the art on Kobolds. That they're adorable.
Yeah, John Kovalik, same guy who does like Munchkin and Dark Tower
mhm.
and
Oh,
a lot of
okay.
Steve Jackson stuff and all that. Yeah,
Okay.
John is super nice. He does he's been doing the Kobolds Eat My Baby art since that third-ish edition that zine I
Uh,
held up.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he does that for us. He's
Okay.
so cool.
Yeah.
Love the Munchkin artwork as well. So that's I didn't
Yeah,
realize this was the same person. That's really cool. Uh, oh, Leary Hill says, although I choose to believe they don't die, they just wander off and a new one comes in for the Kobolds.
absolutely.
I mean that sure.
Why
We'll go
not?
with that.
Right?
Why not? Why not?
Can again? I just we're nerds, and I'm just really interested to know more about you guys and with what you do, because I think you make some really cool products. Maybe we'll start up here with Bug again. What's your like? Tell me your favorite board game or favorite
Oh,
TTRPG, I suppose.
I mean,
That's
Kobold
not ninth.
might be.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh.
That's not ninth
Um,
level that you haven't worked on. Like, just some art that you appreciate from somebody else. And I'm using art to mean
um, yeah,
of
yeah.
all kinds.
Favorite board game. Ooh. My favorite game probably is Star Realms. I know it's not a board game, but
Okay.
it scratches all of those itch of like
I don't know
of
this.
all of the
What is Star
collectible
Realms?
I want. Star Realms, it's made by Rob Doherty. Um, he like it scratches all of that like collectible card game itch, and it's not collectible. It plays sort of like
Right.
Magic, but
Right.
not. It's a deck builder. It's so good.
Okay.
I love it. But it's like you buy it and it's done. Like there's some expansion stuff that's like $5 here and there, but altogether, like in 10 years, I've spent, less than $200 on it probably,
That's
and
awesome.
I own all of it.
Oh,
I
okay.
love it. And you can buy an app, in which case I've spent more money on it, but whatever, that's fine. Then I play it at dinner instead of talking to my friends.
I've
I
been
play with my friends.
That's cool. I've been enjoying a handful of card games. I don't do the card chase either, and so I love that you can like it's self-contained. That's really cool. What about?
I'm
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'm not allowed to buy collectible games. I'm not allowed to play war games. I'm not
Yeah,
allowed to play collectible card games. That's how I stay married.
understandable.
Yeah.
Understandable. It is so expensive. Yeah, I've been trying to cover a little bit more some war games that are like war games in a box and things that aren't. You know, ga- I just the YouTube money is not rolling in to be able to afford Warhammer hobby over here maybe one day when the big YouTube money starts come rolling in. John, what about you? What about yourself?
Okay. Well, if we're gonna touch on board games, I'm gonna tell you my two favorite because one a lot of people will have heard of, and the
Okay.
other I think people should play. So the first one that I'm really big into that I will play given the opportunity is Marvel United. I just love that game. I've spent so much money on that game.
Okay.
Uh, they've done 3 seasons, and they have a fourth season coming out, but it's DC superheroes, so they're
Okay.
kind of branching out. Um, and me, I'm a big Marvel Comics nerd, so it's got all the really obscure characters. I'm like, oh, I know who that is. That's great, awesome that character. So
Okay.
so, and it's got these little chibi Marvel minis in it that are
Yeah,
really
I'm seeing
awesome.
that on some of the artwork here. Okay.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's a lot of fun. There's just a ton of replayability because every combination of characters you play, every hero you play, it's going to play different every single
Okay.
time. And I feel like they've really done a lot to keep the replayability of that up. Um, Now, the game that I also really like that I think everybody should check out is Trogdor the Burninator, the board game. It is the game it is better than any game called Trogdor has any right to be. It is I've brought this to conventions and played it with diehard board game people, and they've been like, I totally glossed over this because it had Trogdor on it, but this is an amazing game. Check it out. Trogdor, the Burninator, the game.
Oh, Bug, you're laughing over there. What?
I absolutely love Homestar Runner. It's my childhood right there.
Okay. That's awesome. What about in TTRPGs? Is there anything that you guys have had a chance to play recently, or that you're into right now? Um,
Oh man.
I know I'm asking all these really tough questions,
N-
like
It's
what's your
do
favorite
I have
game? Or like,
time to play games?
yeah,
Ironically, all of my friends want to play board games and never RPGs.
okay, that's funny. Can I tell
Or I have
a
them.
horrible story of a real life thing that I said? I was at PAX East, and I'm there and I'm like running around, I'm trying to meet everybody, and part of I'm working, right? I'm trying to like, let me get a key, so, talk to people, the press people, like let me get a key and I can play your game online, try it out, maybe do a review, what have you. And I probably shouldn't say this, but someone was like, "Oh, do you want to play like this demo?" And I was like, "I'm not here to play games." and, and it's just like I had to stop, and I was like, "What is wrong with me?"
Oh my gosh.
But it's sometimes you're working, and you're like, "Yeah, I don't have time to play games right now. I'm trying to work, and my job is to find out about games. I don't have time to sit down and enjoy myself and actually play a game." So I feel you. Hopefully you're not on that level. Hopefully you're not like, because that's like Christmas movie, like the the corporate exec that's like, I don't have time for Christmas. Like that's, I might as well put on a Scrooge hat, and at that point it's nice to pause and remember that we're all here to have fun.
I was at Tantrum Con this last weekend in North Carolina, and I was in the elevator, and a guy asked me, he was like, "Oh, what are you here to play?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't play games at conventions." And he was like, "Ugh," and he like got off the elevator real quick. I
Oh
was,
my gosh, that's funny. I actually in this I actually am not able to play games at conventions because there's literally just not enough time. Like after hours, like once like the floors close, stuff like that, then there's time. But I often find that my friends that I've got, they've been playing games all day. And they're like, "What have you been doing all day?" I'm like, "I've been walking around talking to people." And they're like, "Yeah, that's your problem. Why are you talking to people?" It's typical antisocial gamers that are like, "Yeah, we just uh,
yeah.
Dietrich says, he's serious business when he says, I don't have time to play games." Yeah. We take our game playing incredibly seriously, guys. That's all it is. Um,
Uh, I think the game I'm most excited to play at any point soon is Darkness at the Brink of Ohio by Banana Chan.
okay.
Um, it is a journaling game about um, a DJ in a booth as like the world is going insane in like Akron. Um, as like the apocalypse is happening or something. And you like are supposed to like I think play music while you play this game. Very excited for it. And I live in Ohio, and I spend a lot of time in Akron, so
Okay.
yeah,
That's cool.
I'm really excited to play it.
I want to ask you this, you guys, kind of a broad question. So you've been working for the company. I assume you've been going to cons for a very long time. Is that right, Bug? John, is
Yeah.
that the same case for you, or?
Yes, but for slightly different reasons.
Uh,
Um,
yeah, just
I
for your.
I well, no, I actually am part owner of a gaming convention that's here in my hometown of Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh,
Uh, scarabcon.com. For those of you who want to go, we're in March.
yeah.
There,
It's it. No, no,
I did my
no. Plug
duty.
it, plug
I
it.
did
No,
my duty and plugged it.
okay, yeah. It's in March. You
Um,
said.
yeah,
Okay.
it's actually on Pi Day, so
Oh,
3/14.
perfect.
The Ides of March, so 3/15, and National Panda Day, which is 3/16.
All right. I didn't know about
And it's
Panda Day.
yep. I didn't either. But hey,
Okay. Um,
So as a person who works for a con, I tend to go to a lot of cons, mostly regional stuff. And then through ninth level games, I'll go to like Origins and sometimes Gen Con, maybe a few other places to do stuff for ninth level games.
okay.
So when I'm going to different cons, I'm usually running. I'm that guy who says, "How many games do I got to run to get in free? Three?
Okay.
Okay, I'll run 3 games." Um, that's my chance to run games. So and then when I'm not doing that, I'm networking with other people too, usually industry people. So
Right.
I totally get the whole like I'm not here to play games.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
here to do a job.
Yeah.
Now roll
Yeah.
that 20 and tell me what you get.
I'm not here to play a 4-hour board game right now. Like I want to do that. I do it at home all the time, but like I'm here. I can play board games at home. I can't talk to some of the people that I can talk to here at home. unfortunately. Um, yeah, well, one of my experiences going to, so I've only gone to Gen Con a couple of times now, and a handful of other cons since then. And so as a stereotypical nerd who was like, I used to just, even when I couldn't play, I would just sit at home as a kid and read, like, read the books I was given. A lot of them were first and second edition D&D, but just like reading and being very happy, not even playing a game, but just reading about it. That kind of like, I'm in my parents' basement or whatever, right, doing that. I had no idea that there are so many games out there and that there are more games coming out in a given year than you could probably keep track of. Like one person could keep track of. Maybe if you did it entirely as a business, you could vaguely catalog most of it.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
it strikes me in the TTRPG scene that there are, and I'm getting to a question here, guys. I'm just trying to give us a little background for it.
Your
Um,
podcast.
yeah. Well, as someone who is, again, I thought I knew about games and then I realized there are so many more games out there. And also kind of like looking at the market for all of these games where there are, I mean, obviously there's board games, but there's also a decent number of TTRPGs where there's something like Kobold Take My Baby where it's like, I'm not sure what the retail on it right now, but it's around $20, maybe 15 to 25. I know it's in there somewhere. And there are, and probably less if you just went and got the digital version. Yeah, does there an MSRP on there, John?
It's 25,
25.
24.99.
Okay.
And I think the PDF is 20.
Okay. There.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's these smaller games, mazes as well, and some of the other games you've talked about, and then there are some of the larger companies that do things like Vampire, of course, D&D, Steve Jackson with GURPS, which I have no, I've played so much GURPS, I have really lost all idea of like how many people actually play compared to some of these other things. I imagine not many. Uh, but is there a breakdown that you guys see with maybe more like casual players that aren't in the industry, that aren't going to cons all the time, where like the number of, do you find the same people that will pick up something like Kobold Take My Baby will also pick up some other smaller self-contained TTRPG and play it, and that's a different group from the ones that are like, I found Vampire and I only play, well, know what, I'll play Werewolf too.
I find that now it might be more of a regional kind of thing, but I find that to be true. We have a lot of people in my area who, if they play Pathfinder, they might play D&D, but that's all they're really gonna play.
Right.
Whereas there's definitely some folks who are like, they'll discover a smaller um, RPG, a more indie RPG,
Sure,
and
sure.
they're the ones who tell me stuff like, oh yeah, I play Cypher System and I play Genesis System and I play all these other things, and they're usually the ones who will then go like, sometimes I play D&D because that's what all my other friends. I like
Yeah.
hanging out with them.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people stick to like certain genres and styles. There's definitely people who have preferences of what kind of play. Um, Kobolds fits in a weird place. Polymorph in general does, but especially Kobolds, where even like really hardcore players still want to play Kobolds, even like if it's kind of
Oh,
lighthearted. I always tell people it's like an all ages game, or it's like a family game or an all ages game. Um, it's not for kids, it's not for adults, it's for everybody. Chris says it's kids play it seriously, adults play it because it's funny. Or adults play it in earnest.
hmm
And we call it a cult classic because it is. It's everyone's favorite game that you've never heard of. It's been around 25 years. It has always done very well. For no, like, not no reason, but like so many people go, "Oh, I've heard of that. Oh, I
it's
played
like
that before." It comes back around. It just, because of just the absurdity of it, it just catches people. And then once they find out, like the title is that eye catcher, but then like once they figure out what's happening, they're like, oh, everybody wants to start a fire. Like everybody wants to just be a little chaos monster for a couple hours. Like they're into it. Like
It is just like that Trogdor board game I
Yeah.
mentioned.
Okay. I'll check it out.
Wink, wink.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I have no ties to Trogdor or Homestar Runners, so
Yeah,
But what if
I'm
we
not
did?
getting kickback,
shit.
but it's an awesome game.
No, that's awesome. I mean,
But
that's
if we did, we would totally write the RPG for Homestar Runner.
well, I mean, that's why I like covering some of this stuff because there are so many. You, John's stealing ideas right now. There are so many great games out there, and it's like, you don't really hear about them. Like I hadn't heard of Kobolds Ate My Baby, and again, I'm not someone going to cons, not someone who, I thought, foolishly that I knew a decent amount about games and had never heard about this amazing game that has been around for 25 years and then get a chance to play it and like, oh man, this is incredibly fun. And when you say like for no reason, I think that just shows that so many of the independent games out there, everybody and their dog recently has been trying to make a game. And first off, never want to discourage anybody from that. I think it's great. We need, sure. We have more games so we can play in a year, but more is better. Why not? Why not more? Um, but I also see that there are sometimes you can just really tell when there's expertise. Is I think what I want to say, and it doesn't have to be your 15th TTRPG. I don't think, but it does have to be. When you talk about people who play games and people who know a lot, like what I'm trying to ascertain from both of you really is because you guys clearly have some expertise. Now, I know there are other people involved and what have you, but I'm just trying to dig down on where that's coming from. It sounds like John, for you, a lot of it is being a forever GM. Sounds like you're really creative. Some of the ideas you have being thrown in there, but where
Yeah,
does this
it's a lot of that and a lot of watching a lot of sketch
Uh,
comedy shows.
Childhood trauma.
childhood trauma? It's great. It's great
Childhood
for it. I can't recommend childhood trauma enough. Yeah, absolutely.
a lot of it also comes from not being ashamed or afraid to do stuff like an interview as a paper bag puppet.
Oh, did you do were you oh my god. I think there is hello, who are these two guys? Can you introduce yourselves?
Uh, well, I'm John, obviously. You
Oh,
want me to be here.
I'm sorry. John Papersack. And who else do we have there? Oh, I'm not getting any audio from Bug. Bug, can your friend introduce themselves?
No, it's a kobold. They don't talk.
They don't talk. Oh, kobolds don't talk.
Oh.
Kobolds bark.
Human.
You know,
I
they
do
make barking noises.
I do think that there is like something about I find being online and doing YouTube videos like at certain point you're like, yeah, I'm gonna make an idiot out of myself and like a fool out of myself, and that's just part of the whole thing, and I'm here for it. Do you feel like that part of like, I don't know, I'm sure people in improv and other things kind of have that's maybe childhood trauma gives you that, where you just don't care what other people think and you can just unabashedly be yourself?
I mean, that and alcohol.
Okay. All right. Well, one of those is a little bit more, of a of a healthy choice. What about for you, John?
For me, it was really kind of the moment when I realized that I didn't need to really care as much about what other people were gonna do, as long as they are gonna think, as long as they were having fun. And that's really when I just kind of said, you know what, heck with it. I'm just gonna cut loose and see what, you know, throw my creative spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks, so to speak.
Okay. Did you guys plan these two guys coming out and doing this interview? This just happened spontaneously. I think everybody loves this, by the way. If you're always the fool, then you can never be made the fool. That's fair. They were here the whole time.
Hey, good comment. Like
They're-
that. Yeah, I think I suggested a day or two ago. I said, hey, Bug, let's make paper bags and paper bag puppets and do that. So
That's fun.
I mean, yep.
Are you calling me a
We're-
puppet?
Um,
No, because that would be uh,
How do you
next
identify?
question. Next question.
Next question, indeed. Yeah. So kind of to go back this a little bit, because as someone who wants, I want to help gateway people into this style of game, and with Kobolds Ate My Baby, like it's just incredibly fun. So I can tell people like, hey, it's just fun. Just listen to me. Go buy it. Go play it. You're gonna have a great time. But do you think there's anything or any way that you guys have, with friends, and this is more of a personal, your experience in the TTRPG space, getting people that are like, yeah, I only play Pathfinder, or I only play, 5e, or I only play Vampire, or whatever, to try to give a shot to more of these games? How do we gateway them in? Do you guys have any suggestions?
Aside from
Well,
bullying,
Okay, bullying, sure, sure. Put that on.
yeah, yeah. Um,
um, sometimes what I do is I invite my friends over and say, "Hey, we're gonna play some ah wink," and then they sit down, and I'm like, "Oh, did I get the wrong book on the table? Are those? Oh, those are character sheets for a different game. Well, let's play that since I've got that."
Bug, you're smiling like
uh,
you've done this.
I mean that might fall into the deception category. With
No,
our games, with polymorph, with they are very simple. They're streamlined, right? Like that's the thing we keep talking about. Very, very quick. They're good filler games. They're good intro games. So all those people, they're like, oh, my girlfriend won't play games with me. Well, it's like, well, what if you try a game that doesn't take 4 hours to make a character, right? Like you
Hmm.
gotta
Where we have to have a session
appeal
before the
to,
first session to have
yeah,
the first
to
session.
spend like
Yeah.
14 hours making a character. Nobody wants to do that. Who can do math? Can you do math? You have to, with our games, we appeal to that. So it's that variety. It's, you don't need to be playing the only one campaign for 20 years with the same people. Always play with the same people, sure, but um, there's, like you said, there's more games coming out every single year than anybody's can count. You have no idea. Like there's always something new. Um, Getting to try those things is so much fun. So just, sometimes it's a catchy title or a tagline to
right,
appeal.
right.
But sometimes it's just, okay, well, instead of canceling this week, let's try, because 6 people aren't here or whatever. If 2 out of 4, find something that can just run for 2 people. Find something that fits that niche, like that. It's that little, you know,
So
filler
the
something.
and the other thing that I've found, and it's not just me. Sorry, it's not just me being a guy who works at conventions, but um, really, everybody. There's gaming conventions out there all over the place. You don't always have to go to Gen Con or Origins. I find if you go to those smaller conventions and just sign up for whatever games are being run. You may have never tried it before, but it's a great way to do that. And you might like some. First time I played this game called Paranoia was at a gaming convention, and I think that was my slippery slope down towards liking games like Kobolds, actually.
Okay.
Kobold in Paranoia, great option.
I haven't
I
played
mean,
The
Paranoia.
colorblind.
Yeah.
oh, well, you should check out that game. I don't know what version they're on. I think they're on like the ninth or 10th edition of their game.
Okay. Guys, if anybody in chat has any questions for these guys, drop it in. Let me know, and we'll get it asked. I know a lot of people on YouTube here watch a little bit after the fact. Um, yeah, well, I just want to say, just to make you guys feel really uncomfortable, that I think Kobolds Ate My Baby is a great product, and I think you guys did a really good job, the
I
whole
know.
team. Okay, all right, perfect. Love that confidence. Yeah, it's a really great game, and I really enjoy playing it, and getting people to try and play games like this more often. Like when you're talking about, yeah, absolutely, like when a GM's not there or somebody wants to try GMing or whatever, because you can't go too much off the rails in a 1 or 2 shot, right? So like it's great. You don't have to worry about where's the story arc gonna go? It's like, No, no, there's not much of a story arc going on here. You're just having fun, sitting down, and to get back to that where I take my TTRPGs pretty seriously, arguably too seriously, right? Like I'm not here to
Yeah,
play
I'm here.
games. I'm here to role play. No, but having something that is more lighthearted. Looks like we at least got some comments, if nothing else. Let's see what we got here. Um, did you ask mine earlier and I just missed it? Oh, I'm sorry, Lyriel. I might have missed it. Um, I will go back up and find it. How long did it take to make the puppets?
I don't know what you're talking about. What puppets?
uh,
This guy right here. I don't know.
oh, here we are.
No.
Lyriel asked, sorry I missed since it came in a little late. Does anyone have a favorite story from their time playing Kobolds Ate My Baby?
I don't play Kobolds, ain't my baby.
You GM, huh?
Um, like I said, I've run this. Oh, it's so hard. I've run this literally hundreds, maybe over 1,000 times at this point. Because I've been doing it since 2007. Um, do you have one, John? Or several?
Um, I'm kind of with Bug on this. It's like there's been so much ridiculous stuff that's happened. It's hard
It's
to. I've
it's
I've
always
I've
like,
definitely got some stuff that was more traumatic to
oh
me,
yeah.
but
There was a time I thought I was gonna
those
get arrested. People in
what?
Wisconsin make way too many breast milk jokes. That makes me upset. Um,
Uh,
um,
what?
Mine
I
was
don't
in
know
a
what's.
similar vein. Mine is best not repeated.
Oh, okay. Like
yeah.
people get a little crazy with it.
It was
Interesting.
Um,
there's a scene out of Clerks 2 where this one guy's talking about this thing called pillow pants, and you see the other guy's expression where he's like, "That was me at the table." Don't.
Okay. Huh.
um,
I have
I
not.
give death checks when that happens.
I was too stunned.
I
I don't know what to do.
I remember I remember players that are fun if I see them more than once, right? There's one guy who the entire the entire like 2 hour session, he just screamed hooray at like this high pitched volume that I personally can't make, and like never described what he was doing. He would just scream hooray and like roll his die, and I was just sure.
Sure, do you do you?
Yeah, it was pretty memorable.
I think
And he's
I got a good
he
one.
comes to Origins every year. Like, he was a nice person, but I was like, I remember that.
That's
So
interesting.
I've got one that's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
It was at a it was always funny. It's always funny to me that they set our table like right in the middle of this uh, D&D Adventurers League thing, and they were doing one of their specials, and I was like, well, I don't know why you put our kobolds in the middle of that, but I'm going to work with that.
Were they doing
Um,
the thing so they were like they're all playing the same adventure
yeah,
and it's multiple
yeah, yeah,
tables?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So they had a
Okay.
big scene where they're at a tavern, and somebody's like yelling out, and then this happened, and everyone would be like, huzzah! And I was like, oh, I leaned into the table, was like, we got this, guys.
Uh,
So people, there's a rule in Kobolds Ate My Baby where if you want to try to do better at something, you can bark like a kobold, but you always have to outdo the last person who barked like a kobold. So at that moment, they all decided, oh, I don't care what I'm doing, I'm gonna bark like a kobold. So at one point we had somebody he let out this mighty howl, and he ran across. This is at a convention, so he ran across every single table and like howled at each table before coming back. And it's like, yeah,
Oh.
that's awesome.
One Midnight Massacre, which we at Origins have a big event called the Kobold Midnight Massacre. It's 100+ person event. We always do a special adventure for it where we write up something. Like, it could be anything. It could be like 1 year is Wizard, a couple years ago was Wizard of Frogs. Last year was what was last year? I just wrote
I
it.
I don't know, some sort of
A
circus
couple years
thing that
before that, it was
Bug wrote.
I wrote a slasher flick. John did a music festival one time, stuff like that. So 1 year I did a prison break where you had to go into prison to break out King Torg, all hail King Torg.
All
Oh,
hail
hell,
King
King
Torg.
Torg.
Chef. But it was like you had to go around the prison, and like the first scene was go around and get a bunch of special items like contraband, um, to buy information, right? So it was like cigarettes and a dirty magazine and um Pruno, and which is prison toilet wine and stuff like that. Um, this is the first scene of the game. We read the scenario. My table, all like 10 people get up and leave the room. And they come back with cigarettes, an archaeology magazine, um, a beer, and like something else. I forget what. Um, like whatever the whole list was, basically, and like set all of these things in front of me. And I was like, okay, well, that was supposed to take a little bit more time, but great, let's do the next scene. And then I got a beer and a cigarette, so it's great. I've quit smoking since then, but at the
Well,
time
that's
I
good.
was like, done.
That's awesome. Sorry, I'm just catching on one chat over here. Mother Clucker is asking, did a kobold really eat your baby?
I don't have a baby,
Exactly.
but
Exactly.
they do
I, gue-
desperately try to eat
I
babies,
guess
right?
that's.
They
We
often
had
fail.
we were in the middle of a game at a convention, and this woman walks in. She's got a stroller with her baby, and I think half the people at my table got up and just went crazy, and I had to go like, "Hey guys, uh, we need to be a little calm here." But she was kind of cool with it, so
Yeah, I actually feel like my games and stories are incredibly tame compared to this. And I like in the book you guys reference, like there's some stuff where you're like, yeah, I try to keep it, remember that the game is about everybody. And I'm like, oh, they have a lot of stuff like that in here. I assume this would be why people maybe getting a
Uh,
little.
yeah,
uh,
because we want everybody to have fun,
Yeah.
and we know there's was it's veils and lines and stuff that you don't want to cross,
yeah.
and that's kind of up to you to figure out what is your table, what can you get away with at your well, I don't want to say get away with at your table,
Yeah.
but what's that
What's
limit you can
appropriate?
push
Yeah.
with
What's
your table,
appropriate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? I always ask my tables like, "Are you guys okay with fart jokes?" And then and
Um,
they say no, and I go, "Well, too bad." And I make a fart noise.
Go ahead, Bug. What are you gonna?
yeah, I mean, I run the game like the kobolds are gonna die. Um, but uh, if I'm running for an table that's entirely full of children, I'm not gonna be like I'm never particularly descriptive, but I'm not gonna like go into detail that the kobold's death. I'm gonna be like, oh, Andrew Kobold's gone, right? But like
Yeah.
still like part of the game. Um,
Aw.
but
That's really sad that we're
it's
talking about death here in front of this poor kobold. It's okay, guys. I'm sure you'll live
not gonna
forever.
live long. It's okay. There's always another kobold. I have one more orange bag.
Oh, Mother Clucker says I have no one to play with though. I have tons of board games and D&D 5e, but no one to play with. So this would just collect dust like the others. Oh man, listen, Mother Clucker. First off, I think you're in the Discord. All right, we're not quite there with getting a critical mass of people, but there are plenty of places to play online. Are there any places specific for ninth level or for kobolds?
We have a Discord. We have our own ninth level Discord. You can join it definitely from our website. I can probably link it somewhere. Um,
I
but
mean, I'm sure
there's
someone.
also a website called Start Playing, and we don't specifically host games on there, but I just like it as in general. You
Yeah,
can put up games to play or look for games on there. Sometimes they're paid, but sometimes they're free, or you can certainly put them up for free. Um, any game, right? Like you can make friends on that site. It's pretty great. Um, and you can play any game on there.
yeah.
So
If you're looking for
pretty cool.
in-game, in-person games to your local like game shop, if you have one, look for comic book stores. So it used to be that you had to look for comic book stores because no one was just doing TTRPGs. That's not always the case anymore. You can sometimes find specific game stores. sometimes some stores just sell card games, like it's just like Magic and whatever a couple of the most popular, but Pokemon or something like that. But you can go look online. Absolutely, I mean, it seems like they're running games, or people will be looking for games in ninth level. The ninth level Discord would probably be a really good place, and eventually we'll have some going in the Discord at Homebrew Tabletop as well. So there are games out there. I don't play any games in person right now, but I play a lot of games. So, like it depends on your group, it depends on whatever, but there's a lot of stuff out there that you can find. I just want to encourage you that direction. Uh, Let me just double check. Yeah, cool. And I'll link the Discord for ninth level in the description of this video. I don't have it down there now, but I'll put one in there. But I'm sure you can find it with a quick Google. But yeah, and with something like Kobolds Ate My Baby, again, it can get a little crazy. I know, Mother Clucker, you're going to be just fine because you're going to be the problem person, if anything.
Always play games to your audience, right? Like we have a game called Women Are Werewolves, and it is a game about being non-binary in a family where the women are werewolves, and you are drawing question cards about gender, family, and werewolf to build that family around you, and figure out your place in it, or sometimes not. And that game goes through lines and veils as part of the rules, and so that's everything in that game. That's everything from like puberty to like dysphoria to traumas, like, and you cover like what every player is going to be comfortable with, and it tells you how to do that in a comfortable manner. So like in this game, it's dumb, it's silly, it's often, we call it, we prefer it at a cartoon violence level. Play with your players, play with the people at your table in a way that's everyone's going to be comfortable. If you are upsetting people, either something's wrong or you're just playing with the wrong group sometimes.
Yeah, and that's with like everybody. Like, don't think that if you're someone who's new to the space at all, and you're like, oh, this seems really cool, you can go to a group and have a really bad experience, and it can be sometimes no one's fault, and it can be just you had one expectation, the group had another, and you tried to talk it out, and you've had conversations, and then the reality of the situation is different. Don't think that just because it's a little bit like dating, okay? You might have to go on some bad dates before you go on a good one. But you can find a group, and what you'll find too is like you'll learn stuff pretty quickly. Where like for me, I just don't appreciate stupid humor, particularly, and I don't things that are needlessly gross for the sake of being gross. Like, I don't care; it doesn't offend me. I'm just not going to get super into it. So like, I probably don't want to be in a group where like people act like a bunch of stereotypical teenage boys or something, right? Like, I'm probably not just, and even if they're adults of any age and any gender, like if that's how they kind of, that stereotype is how they act, I'm probably not going to be super entertained or, engaged, but you can find a group that is and that does fit, and then finding also like the diverse group of people that there's a lot of us nerds out there, and there's a lot of different kinds of nerds. Some of us like comic books, some of us don't read comic books at all, some of us can quote manga and like that's they're a complete weeb, and some of us have no idea, besides the name, what manga is, like manga. Maybe I'm saying it wrong, right? Like, who knows? So there's a wide group, and then I mentioned too, like when I played Kobolds Ate My Baby, like on the surface, Kobolds Ate My Baby is not a game for me, but actually playing it, because it's a lot of stupid humor. There's a lot of like stuff that I usually take my TTRPGs very seriously, right? Like, I don't come in with with Steve the Drow as your character name. I'm like, Steve, get out of here. Like, no, come up with a real name. Come up with a real drow name. Dang it. And so, but it is a game that I personally found to just be a lot of fun. And the things I didn't like, I just didn't use, which is super easy to do with it because it's so lightweight. And honestly, if you wanted to like, no, I don't like. There's like, I don't know how many classes there are. I love the classes, by the way, and I love how many there are. But if you're like, I don't like any of these, I want to play, whatever, you totally could. You get like one rule that breaks the other rules, and play Conan. You know, you're the Conan class, right? You can hit stuff good. That's what you do. Whatever it is, you can smash inanimate objects, and that's what I thought was so cool and find so enjoyable about Kobolds Ate My Baby.
Yeah,
Uh,
you can make up new classes all the time. Like I do it. A lot of the adventures we put out, we put new ones in. Like
Oh, yeah.
the little quick adventure I'm using right now, I based it off of I based it off of a meme. All of the jobs, um, and it was like mole matador and no mole catcher, um, squirrel matador,
Mm.
um,
ooh,
a possum rider, owl farrier. It's a meme. Like somebody sent me a meme that had like half of those listed, and I had to made up a couple more because I always want them to be rollable. So there's 6. Just make them up. You get a job title, a description, a treat, and a random item.
yeah.
That's it. It takes 2 seconds.
Well, and
It's so much fun.
if you're trying to GM too, you know, it's one of those things where like if you're trying to do Pathfinder or 5e or GURPS or whatever, and it's like, well, we got to look up the rules for how much you can push or pull, or like, okay, how far can you jump? Well, there's you know, we just need a spreadsheet to calculate this or whatever, and you're gonna, you know, if you have someone in your group that's that rules lawyer, is like, no. Actually, you know, that's not the rule. It's supposed to be this way. You're not. Kobolds Ate My Baby is like, it doesn't matter. You know, oh, you're correcting me. Cool. Make a death save. Yeah, make a kobold death save
Yeah.
for correcting the GM.
Yeah.
And the whole point is just fun and chaos and everything else. And
Yeah. I'll give them a death check for correcting me, and then probably still let them roll to make a jump. Like,
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
oh yeah, definitely.
100%, 100%. And you know what? That's the whole point. And they should know going in that their character's not going to survive. But you know what? After the 3rd time their kobold dies, maybe they will realize it's you know, maybe I should just go along with maybe I shouldn't give the GM a hard time, you know?
never.
It's a great place. My point though is it's a great place for someone to start GMing. So if you're someone who is like,
Oh,
hey,
yeah.
I don't have a group of people or what have you, that's how most of us got into GMing, right? I didn't have a GM with my group of friends and I wanted to play more. And so that's how I started. And I know a lot of people who started GMing like that. And if you start with something light like this, it's going to be a lot more enjoyable experience than reading a 400-page rule book and trying to keep all that in your head. It really simplifies things down to it just needs to be fun, and that's really what it's all about: is sitting down with a group of friends and having some fun. Well, cool. Well, I appreciate both of you guys taking the time to be here, and it's a great product. I hope you guys are proud of what you made here, and I hope we can see more products from you guys in the future because yeah, it's great. I really enjoyed it. So, well, guys, we'll call it here. Anything else though that we any plugs that for a future? We already talked about some of the other stuff that's coming out from 9th level. Remember, guys, go check out 9th level games. Kobolds Ate My Baby, Mazes. If you want something a little bit more serious, there's a ton of other stuff too. I in my head there's like a My Little Pony thing, but it's maybe just something.
Horseshoe Academy.
Horseshoe
Yeah.
Academy. Oh my
Yes.
God. Okay.
Oh yes, yes, yes.
I told you, I got like all of our games in here, basically. Like, there's Horseshoe Academy.
Horseshoe Academy's pretty fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We have like 10, 12 or 15. We have so many RPGs out. We got like Business Wizards. We got Nancy Druid. We got the Excellence.
And
Rebel Scum is, I think, almost out of print, but we're reordering it, so it'll be back in a few weeks. That one's about punching fascists. We got birds.
oh man, I think we could all use a little bit of that right now.
Yeah, Rebel Scum's been selling really well lately. Wonder why.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
It's
We have so many games. I just
Yep.
keep doing this. Rebel Scum.
Oh yeah, keep
Very
going.
good dogs.
Oh,
Chernobyl. This one's getting a reprint soon too.
oh
Get a new
good,
cover
good,
on
good,
that one.
good. Very good dogs is
that
very
means-
good.
I have so many
Yes,
games.
mazes looking more serious, more like the traditional.
Yeah.
For those of us who take our fantasy and TTRPGs way too seriously.
Savage Sisters is pretty cool. It's like Red Sonja kind of game.
Okay. Mother Clucker says Kobold sounds like it's all over the place. That is 100%
Yeah.
true, Mother Clucker.
Yes. And then Sentai and Sensibility,
Yep.
which I wrote, which I don't have up here. Check that one out. I think that's everything that's out right now, unless I'm forgetting something. And then Starly Davidson is the one we're doing for Zine Quest, which starts in a couple days.
Okay. And most of
Yeah,
these are in that, $20, $25 price range.
15 to 25 most stuff,
Okay.
except for the hardback, like the big hardback stuff, mazes and Return to Dark Tower. Those
Okay.
are like more
Mm.
pricier stuff.
Sure.
Um, yeah. Oh, and Venture Society. We put out so much stuff. Venture Society. I didn't have up here. That one's our like therapeutic kids game.
Oh,
So
cool.
that one's like a big box set. It's really neat. It's got a ton of stuff in there. Check that out.
Awesome. Well, thank you again both for taking the time to chat with me, guys. Go check out Kobolds Ate My Baby if you're curious about it. Again, there's a review here on the channel. Give a thumbs up. Let me know that you're interested in this stuff, and if you want to, drop a comment if you're watching this after the fact and there's something you'd like to see reviewed, out of the mini games that we were just talking about. And my plan, I would love to. So far, I really enjoyed everything by ninth level, and I'd love to, review it. And part of the reason I do these review guys is because I want to share that there's awesome games out there with you all and with other people. And so, share. Let's get the people that are only playing, one or two games, and just show them that the world is there's more out there than there's more than meets the eye. Hey, we got a Transformer reference.
What?
All right, guys. Thanks everybody for watching. Thank you both for being here, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.